This is Christopher. He lived a long time ago and is a kid just like you. Christopher worked on this cool ship. This merchant ship took people and cargo, like this fish and whatever's in this box, from one place to another. The ship traveled all around the coasts of Europe and Africa,
of slavery.
delivering goods and travelers to their different destinations.
This is when
Alas, on
it
one
all
fateful journey,
began.
danger was lurking on the water. Pirates! The pirates attacked the boy's ship as it sailed along the Portuguese coast, and the ship sunk into the ocean below. Luckily, our young explorer grabbed onto a drifting piece of wood and floated safely to shore. As Christopher grew, he began to study astronomy, math, map-making, and navigation. Eventually, he used what he learned to come up with a new route across the Atlantic Ocean. He wanted to see if it was possible to sail this new route. But a journey that big would need a whole lot of money. Christopher told his idea to different wealthy and important people and asked them if they would pay for his trip across the Atlantic Ocean. It took 7 years, but finally, the King and Queen of Spain agreed to give him the money. With that money, he bought supplies, hired a crew, and purchased 3 ships: the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. And in the year 1492, our young explorer...
He didn't just conquer America, he conquered the whole globe.
There'd be no invasion of Australia, no massacres, no
Like, where's the
genocide.
remorse in all of this? Where's the compassion for
The
people?
arrival of the British was a
You
day
don't
of
do this to
celebration
people.
for which the natives should be grateful.
So this is actual footage of the conquering
their history
of
worthless.
land, so you can get an idea. You can see
This
the people
genocide
running, you
denial
can
was
see
the propaganda of
the
empire,
pirates, or
trying
whatever you
yet
want to
again
call them.
to justify the stealing of land and the banishment of its people.
Just a big celebration, and all our country get all together and celebrate for a good country.
Do you think the first Australians have a role in Australia Day? Many of them are rather offended by it.
Are they? Right.
Because that's the day 225 years ago that we took their country.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I suppose we all think of them anyway, too. That's why we all celebrate. Yeah.
So we took their country. We have no remorse whatsoever.
Their special place, but now
Listen
it's
to her.
everyone's place.
Do you think they have a special place, though, as a
Just listen to her
for
again.
thousands of years?
They
What
could
she
have
said.
their special place, but now it's everyone's place.
They still live in very poor conditions.
She could care less. She said it's all
I
about
suppose that's their fault, eh?
If they're part of our society, too, they have to do the same as us and try and help things when they can to get work. They think.
how can you say that?
To be one of us, I know it's
And
hard
you
for them
displaced
because
these
nobody wants to.
You stole from them and displaced
When you say
them.
one of us, they would say, well, maybe it's the other way around.
Yes. I suppose, yeah, there is that, but from their point,
They're the
because
original
their
owners.
country, yeah, we came in with our flag and said, this is ours. I know, that's what makes it hard, doesn't it? Well, over history, that's always happened, hasn't it? Yeah, it's always happened. From the original. Yeah. This is only through the media that I've heard, where they're drunk.
Yeah.
Aussie. Doesn't matter if they're black, white, yellow, blue, green, whatever, man.
They steal your land
We're all Australian.
and then mark it as red, white, and blue as their land and celebrate while we live in poverty.
Today, because they haven't got a lot to celebrate, have they? The Aboriginal people.
In what way?
Well, 225 years ago, their country was taken from.
See you later. We're full of shit, mate.
The fact remains that we've never left this country. We have never ceded any part of our country or signed that over to any other foreign settlers. That's Australian.
So she's saying
We've
even
never
though
done
you
that.
took my
None of our
country,
people ever
we still don't hate
According
you.
to Smithsonian
We still
Magazine,
don't
on 3
wish
separate
evil or
occasions,
bad
letters the
upon
explorer
you,
wrote to Ferdinand
even
and
though you
Isabella
did
have
us
gone
wrong
missing and been replaced
did a
with
complete
impressive fakes.
genocide on
And
my
much like the
people.
Nina,
You
Pinta,
see
and
how
Santa Maria, all 3
beautiful we
documents
are? We
journeyed
some
to the New
beautiful
World.
people.
One letter vanished from the Vatican sometime between 1921 and before 2004, when Georgia resident David Parsons procured it for $875,000 from a New York dealer. Parsons
So did you
apparently
know
thought
that
the
the
sale was above
Catholics
board, so it
have
must have been really irritating to
every
discover he
bit
blew such a ridiculous amount on stolen stationery.
do
The letter was
with
returned to the
Christopher
Vatican in
Columbus and his voyage
2018.
and all this
That
mess
same
and all
year,
this
a
starting
different
in
original
America
copy of
and
the letter made its
colonizing
way back
and
to
all
the
this stuff.
National
Do you know
Library
the
of Catalonia in Barcelona after being
have
uncovered
the
by U.S.
Catholic
law enforcement.
Church have
And
everything
both of
to do
those
with
came
this?
on the heels of a third letter, which was auctioned off in New York in 2016 for $300,000 before being donated to the Library of Congress. Authorities don't seem to have a clue who committed the heist or how, meaning they're
You
almost as
can take my country, but in exchange for that, I want some welfare funds. Our people have never been aware of such a transaction. What amazes me is there is not the hatred, because that's beneath our dignity to hate people. We have not got that. We have not got that anger. But as all people have to start thinking about righting the wrong, the awful wrong that continues to happen to us and ours.
Here's what I look like. Alright, now listen.
Your body owner will be on the sand.
These people are thieves, bottom line. I don't care what anybody says. They come, they conquer,
I've
take over,
noticed
and steal your land.
that on every continent, every country has dark people, black people, Negroes, whatever you want to call them. And they are the Aboriginal people.
In the historical section of something.
In every situation, in every country, they are poor, they are the outcasts, and they are forgot about. But the lighter skinned people are living sophisticated and rich. Now that's all fine and dandy, but that's not fair if you stole something from someone and you reap the benefits of that, and then you leave those people to suffer and then exploit them and say that it's their fault when you are the root of their issues.
I can't think.
Christopher Columbus was once lauded as a national hero for supposedly discovering America, but much of his legend was pure hype. He didn't land where he planned, he despoiled the soil he landed on, and he soiled his accomplishments with acts of cruelty. Plus, he was a total weirdo. How weird? Get over it.
We've been so traumatized about all of this. And
we have really been fooled. We have really been robbed,
crammed into each cell.
deceived, whatever you want to call
There's 3
it.
cells here.
And the kind of conditions
And
they were living in.
we're so
conditions they
foolish
lived in initially when this was first built.
on
They only had
seeing
one
truth,
vent above the door.
truth being presented to you, being recorded,
And, it gets really cold
and we
it gets
still
really hot
won't do
here.
anything
This is
about it.
obviously a family room. This is
We
where
still
children
turn the
go.
blind
They've got
eye.
double bunches.
We still turn the other cheek.
Parents there.
And you know, this room we're in,
At this point in life, I have made my own
in
decision
each cell,
that
there's 3 of them here.
the lighter race have stolen everything that you see that they have. They've stolen it. And they have left all of the darker race people in poverty. And it might be easy for you to live your life and live in your corner and mind your business. But how can you sleep at night knowing that you have a full history of just robbery, murder, and then you treat human beings like, actually worse than an animal, because you actually treat your animals better than you treat human beings.
So let's take a look right here.
Genome Diversity Project and made public their findings, which stated that most of the population of modern China, 1/5 of all the people living today, owes its genetic origins to Africa. The study was the result of a consortium of several leading research groups in the People's Republic of China in combination with the Human Genetics Center at the University of Texas Health Center in Houston, Texas.
America's the only people that's going through this.
Or black origins.
No. All of these countries are involved. The United Nations is the people who conquer all of the different countries. All of the lighter people are rich. All of the darker people are living in poverty, executed, exterminated.
Na meaning black and Qi meaning man. The first Chinese emperor, the legendary Fuxi, was a woolly-haired black man.
So tell me, are you just going to lay there and take it? You're going to go another decade, another centuries of being in slavery and in bondage?
About biblical oblivion. History professor Paul Boyer told Frontline that Columbus took apocalyptic teachings and biblical passages very, very literally. So while Columbus never believed he would sail off the end of the world during his voyages, he did think they would cause the end of the world. Toward the end of his life, he even created a compendium of apocalyptic texts titled the Book of Prophecies, whereby he applied end-of-days predictions to himself. Because if you haven't figured it out yet, this guy was a massive narcissist. In his interpretation, he himself was the key to Christian victory over Islam, which could only be accomplished by conquering Jerusalem.
So this man was a massive
Jerusalem
narcissist.
had passed between Christian and Muslim hands during the Crusades before
This is
the
when they
Muslims
take
once
over
again gained control in 1187. Columbus claimed that reclaiming the holy
This is
city
all
would
this
trigger
all
a,
has
quote,
been about. It's
messianic
been a war
period.
between
Starting that period would
Christianity
involve
and
lots of
Islam.
bloodshed, which meant Columbus needed
Islamic,
lots of gold to fund a
original
military campaign. He even
religion
pitched the
that was
idea to
here
Ferdinand and
before all
Isabella
this other
using the
stuff
Book of
came here.
Prophecies. Unfortunately for him, those predictions didn't include the part where he died before fulfilling them. Clearly, portraits of him exist, but according to Scientific America, it's not clear that any were actually painted.
All of you supposedly Black Lives Matter and activists and all you supposed people who are supposed to be standing up for what's right and have these platforms to, say something, do something, you see something, and you guys are just getting checks and subscriptions and likes and rewards. You guys aren't thinking about really, really sincerely helping a darker race of people. The darker race of people are being executed. They are being exterminated, and nobody's doing a thing about it. People are going to reap what they sow.
And my prayer
And I can't wait
is for you to
100
reap
pyramids that are
every
located
single
in a
thing that you sow,
100-kilometer area
every
around the city of
bloodshed
Xi
that you put on
in
this
central
earth.
China.
My prayer is for you to
I
begin
can't
to
help
start
but
reaping it.
wonder,
And
why
my
are
prayer is
these
for people to
pyramids
start
shrouded
standing up
in
and
mystery?
praying the same prayer
What
and
are
stop
they
praying to love these people. These people don't love you. These people hate you.
This site
Take a
is
look at all
also
this
well
mess.
known as the location of the famous life-size terracotta warriors. Because this is a little-known fact. I repeat, there is strong evidence that the Great Wall of China was built by black people. There is also evidence of a substantial population of blacks in early China. Archaeological studies have located an infrastructure which was inhabited by blacks in early Chinese history, and reports of major kingdoms ruled by blacks are frequent in Chinese documents. In the earliest Chinese history, several texts in classical books spoke of these diminutive blacks. The Toruli, composed under the dynasty of Tivu,
They do is go country to country, and they plant their seed, men or women, I don't know who sleep with who, but they go to these different countries and these different islands and whatnot, and they plant their seed there along with their farming seeds, and they farm out the land. They pollute these people. They leave them in poverty. They leave them. They take their culture. They take everything from them. They destroy them as a person, as a people, as a race.
Stuff you never knew about Christopher Columbus. Humans have long likened the world to a woman. Think about it. Nobody's heard of Papa Planet, but everybody knows Mother Earth. But Christopher Columbus may have taken this the most literally, as he believed the world was actually a gigantic boob. Yes, it's crazy but true. According to the Florida Museum, Columbus believed that the Earth had a round base and an upright bulge shaped, quote, like a woman's breast. He also asserted that at the peak of the planet Mammory sat the Garden of Eden, or as the New Yorker called it, quote, the nipple of the world. Clearly, this raises some questions, such as, would that make grass the world's chest hair, and are clouds Earth's cotton bra? But the most pressing question is unquestionably, what the heck? Columbus arrived at his idea in 1498 after reaching the coast of Venezuela during his third voyage. However, he thought he had reached Asia, which led to some major discrepancies between what he was seeing and what he should have been seeing. The weather and water seemed wrong, and the North Star looked misaligned, and he felt like he was sailing skyward.
Sorry,
Naturally, though, Columbus never considered that he might be wrong. Instead, he figured that all previous knowledge of our planet must be mistaken, so he just altered the makeup of the planet itself to fit his blunder. Talk about being a boob. Communication is complicated, especially when the communicators don't speak with the same language, which explains why, when language failed, Columbus naturally turned to the one universal language, dance. See, during that third voyage, where he came up with the whole nipple idea, Columbus ended up on the coast of South America. Approaching the island of Trinidad, he spotted people in ornate headscarves near canoes, people who he hoped he could trade with or possibly enslave. So he waved them over, which you might recognize as the aquatic equivalent of a dude in an unmarked white van asking you to approach his vehicle. The Trinidadians also seemed to recognize this and stayed put. Then Columbus tried to attract them with shiny objects like pans, which created interest but no actual interaction, just like most infomercials. Finally, he had a crew member perform a jig while playing a tambourine, hoping it would essentially start a giant dance party. Instead, the locals fired a volley of arrows. Foiled in his plans, Columbus sailed away because even he finally realized that the jig was up. Christopher Columbus lived in an age when believing in
government and originating social institutions as well as cultural inventions. He is said to be the originator of the I Ching, the Book of Change. It is among the oldest and most revered system of philosophy. Emperor Hung Wu was founder of the Great Ming Dynasty of China. He was African, Sudanese, and Mongolian descent and was also a Muslim. The skills that set the foundation for Shaolin Kung Fu descend from India and Africoid origins. Even in the White Garment Hall of the Shaolin Monastery in Hunan, province of China, there are 12-foot-long paintings of Chinese and Africoid Shaolin monks training boxing skills together. Although not